So, good evening, everyone. With great pleasure, I welcome all 14 foreign beings going to share her Chevening Scholarship application journey. I am Dhananjay Kumar, a present Chevening scholar, today moderating this session. Today's webinar is a part of new initiative called Scholar Series. For this series, we will be inviting scholars from around the world to create awareness about scholarship, university application, opportunities to young people among prospective applicants. With this, I invite Pallavi Mahajan on the Foreign Grad platform. She is one of the few Chevening scholars selected from India in 2021, and she is going to pursue her master's degree from the University of Sussex. She achieved many milestones at such a young age, and now I would like to request her to share some of the highlights of her journey with our viewers. So welcome Pallavi on the Foreign Grad.
Thank you so much, Dhananjay, and thank you so much for such a wholesome introduction. And good evening, everyone. As Dhananjay has rightly pointed out, my name is Pallavi Mahajan. I am a gender rights advocate and a diversity and inclusion strategist. And I graduated law school actually in 2011. And for 5.5 years, hence, I worked in corporate litigation and arbitration. But you know how it happens with most of the careers, somewhere while we are paying our bills and understanding how to climb the ladder, we fail to understand where our mission is. What is it that really gives us happiness? And then in 2017, I realized that my happiness, my core interest area, lied towards gender advocacy. And that is when I made the big move. I co-founded my intersectional feminist NGO, and I started personally working on academic research, policy interventions, and groundwork activism related to gender advocacy. Certain highlights which have really helped me shape my career, and I have utmost gratitude for these opportunities, is that I was a 2019 Gender and Sexuality Fellow for the United Nations. I am also the India Ambassador to the Global Goodwill Ambassador Program. And I've also worked with United Nations through and throughout in their volunteer programs as their team leads. And throughout these networking opportunities, which might sound very overwhelming on LinkedIn, but the core area is that only through solidarity, only when we really go forward to achieve our dreams, resources from the universe come. And as Dhananjay rightly pointed out, I have been extremely fortunate to be selected as a Chevening Scholar from India to study Masters in Gender and Development at IDS Sussex. And recently, I've also been invited as a fellow at the Royal Society of Arts in London. So extremely fortunate to have the right resources along with me to help me shape my career up till
now. Pallavi, you achieved so much. You know, you started with lawyer and then then have a corporate experience for 6 years. Then you founded your own NGO, worked as a volunteer in the United Nations. So you achieved so much, and now finally you are selected as one of the few Chevening scholars selected from India. So that's great to have you on my platform. Thank you so much for coming. So with this, we'll move to the next question. And the first question is, so Pallavi, why you decided to apply for this prestigious Chevening scholarship, even when you know that it is highly competent and selection chances are very, very low?
You're absolutely right. I mean, one thing I think the viewers must understand that, not trying to brag because I'm a Chevening scholar now, but when Dhananjay says that it is a difficult scholarship, I don't know how to really focus it on it more, like how difficult it is, because there are 60,000 applicants coming from 160 different nationality across the globe. And, you know, India is not one of the countries which gives you the highest number of scholars, despite the fact that we have a very large population that applies for Chevening. So yeah, it was a very difficult calling. But for me, definitely the entire scholarship area where it is a fully funded scholarship, which gives me a good amount of stipend, was a key result area. But for more than that, I think I also applied to the Commonwealth, and I was very fortunate to be selected as a Commonwealth scholar as well. But for me, I'm not comparing both the scholarship, but for me, the goodwill, the coveted nature of the Chevening scholarship was a takeaway. Because Chevening is not just comes with the full scholarship funding, it comes with a backing. So when you're a Chevening scholar, that title stays with you for life. You already enter the industry with certain amount of goodwill. You already have a platform to advocate your policies and voice. The second is, which anybody who is interested in a Chevening scholarship will realize, is the network. I don't think I would have ever got an opportunity to study, to interact with people from 160 different nationalities, coming from such countries which we might just have heard of. There are so many things that we specifically from the global south country as India have to learn from the other demographies to advocate policies back home. The third is, and one of the most crucial points of applying to the Chevening, was that Chevening is not just a scholarship, it's a capsule course in resource management, in people management, in enhancing our confidence, because there's so many Chevening events that take place throughout that 1 year and even afterwards. Alumni, the Chevening Alumni India is a very proactive alumni community which keeps engaging in a lot of different programs, participating and collaborating with stalwart industrialists to understand that where is the gap that we can fill in. So I think these were the 3-4 areas where Chevening was a must-have for me. And then because I literally dreamt of, of carrying the Tiranga with me when in the orientation, I would dream of carrying the Tiranga. And then when I had that dream, I don't think the difficulty of the journey actually played on me. My goal was way more than my fear.
That's lovely, Pallavi. And like you said, that you want to carry that flag in this Chevening orientation. I did in 2019, and that was the best moment of my life when I got the opportunity to carry that flag, that Indian flag with me. And I was only few people. Like last year, we were almost 50 students, and we all 50 were representing India among 160 countries. So that was a proud moment. And I'm telling you, when you go in the Chevening orientation, you will feel great, you will feel amazing, and that will be the one of the most important moment of your life. So you rightly said about the flag, because I just had that memory with me. So with this, let's move to the second question. That Pallavi, can you please share your journey of Chevening applications, and how was your experience in applying this Chevening scholarship?
In hindsight, when I think about this entire proposition that how do Chevening essays really contribute in our lives, I'm not going to sugarcoat things and say that it wasn't an exhausting process. It's one of the most difficult processes I have ever been into. But in hindsight, it was such an important process, not just because I got the scholarship, but also because it helped me really understand my own life goals and where do I stand and how do I function and look at life in the next 10 years. So the Chevening scholarship program, the entire application process is a 1-year thing. One cannot write the essays in 3 months. I had my Google Drives filled in because on paper, it just seems easy that, it's 500 words of 4 essays, but it means 500 words of 4 essays, which encapsulate your entire life journey up till now. It is not easy. And where one thinks that this is also important. How can I fit it in 500 words? 500 words are too less. But to make sure that you can encapsulate your entire goals, why you want to study in UK, why you be fitting such a coveted scholarship is obviously a very daunting process. So I had my overarching buckets prepared for each essays, which we will obviously discuss in the coming part of this session. But I had overarching buckets prepared for each head. And one thing that the listeners must know, Chevening doesn't ask for a CV. So you understand the importance of those 500 words is make or break it for life, because they're not asking you for a CV. So then it becomes a very, very intelligent and yet a courageous process. So as I mentioned that I had overarching buckets prepared for each essay. Then throughout my life, what I did throughout the first 3 months of my scholarships open on the 5th of August, but I started preparing in April. So from April to August, I prepared an Excel of my entire 9 years of working and 5 years of law school as to what examples befit which essay part. And so that was my process. And I also sent my essays out to past Cheveners to vet them. So this was a very big takeaway from me, that the community is always there to help you, and please don't shy away from asking help. Also, I would read a lot. I would read a lot about DFID goals. I would read a lot about UK's investment policies in India. Where does India fit in gender equality, which was my core area. And to keep my momentum, to keep my morale high, I would just, as I mentioned, that tricolor picture carrying the Tiranga with me was always on my desktop. That it is an exhausting process, but I always had that picture in my head that this might be a difficult journey, but the benefits of it would be a little more. So overarching, this was my entire picture when I started preparing for the Chevening essays.
Pallavi, you gave very much important insight that since in Chevening scholarship, you do not have to submit your curriculum vitae. So what you have to do, you have to present yourself in such a manner that you give your experience, you have to give complete information about yourself in those 500-word essays. So every word counts in that particular regard. So with this, we'll know more about essays. And with this, I want to ask the very first Chevening essay, that how you approached the very first essay of leadership and influence in Chevening scholarship application.
Right. So because I come from a law degree and I come from a very academically prone interest area, I read a lot of literature on what leadership is. Personally, it worked for me. I read a lot of theories on how leadership is defined. And from that, I picked up certain areas which are personal to me. So for every Chevening essay, it has to be very personal. We cannot pull up literature from the internet and, use flowery words. It is the essays are very matter of fact. We have to quote examples rather than giving them a literature review. But for my own understanding of where my leadership traits lies, it was important for me to get back to books. So I did a lot of study on leadership policies, on leadership ideologies, on leadership functions from across the globe, and what are various organizations, and specifically in my area, gender equality, what leadership befits. And therefore, according to me, there were 4 areas of leadership on which my examples were fit. One was of being an initiator. The second one was of being a facilitator. The third was being of an upholder of values. And the fourth was collaborative leadership. So I quoted 3 examples from my own personal lives, which had recurring effects. As in, each of my example had an overlining view that either it could contribute to more or it could require more intervention. So these were not close-ended examples, which I thought was my selling point. And that is why I think I was able to impress upon the panel also that I require further degree and I require further collaboration. Furthermore, during the leadership essay, while I was quoting my examples, I also understood as to that Chevening is not looking for prime ministers of a country. Chevening is not looking for people who have moved large scale interventions. They are looking for people who have leadership traits. They might not have got an opportunity up till now, but they have the core idea as to why leadership was important. And that is why, even if my examples were small, I made sure that I overarched them into believing that if I get an opportunity of being a Chevening scholar, I can multiply these leadership qualities by 10x. So I think that was how I prepared for the leadership essay.
Rightly said, Pallavi, that in leadership essay, we need to give our own examples. And like Pallavi quoted, she had given 3 examples. So, but I have one request to the viewers, that don't quote more than 3 examples, because that will dilute your, your main point, your USP. So that was one of the points. He also said that you have to be very particular regarding what example you are choosing, and is that example showing the same message or not, your main goal. So please connect your examples with your goal. With this, we networking. So Pallavi, how you pose the networking question, like it was asked in the tuning application? What was your strategy?
So, networking was the second question, and for all my networking question and leadership question, I never repeated examples, but I have been told in certain cases it has worked for me. I thought that I would want to give 3 different examples. Again, my overarching belief of my networking, how I network, was 3-point networking approach that I adopted in my essay. One is that my networking approach was symbiotic, that each member who was a part of that network contributes and also gains. Because let's be very, very straight, we are not doing charity, and nobody likes doing charity in these matters. Everybody's here to either learn or to contribute. So symbiotic relationship was a very important criteria. The second was that every network is supposed to be a going concern. So even if I was a part of network or I had networking abilities, those don't end with me. I have to pay it forward. I have to create sponsors. And the third is that the goal of any network has to be very well established. And where there could be a little bit of tweaking, and a network has to become relatable, but you cannot change the entire genesis as to why a network came into being in the first place. So while I understood that these are the areas where I register my networking, I started fetching for examples from my own personal life. And I used numbers because I am a data-driven person. I believe a lot in numbers. And my networking essay was all about numbers, where I quoted that these many lives I have been able to impact. And if given the scholarship and these networks amplify in the next 1 year, this is the impact when we're baking back to India. Similarly, with networking, I was very sure as to the already existing DFID networks in India. And I collaborated my networking goals with the CAI, Chevening Alumni India community, and their goals as well. So my networking essay was intertwined between my understanding of network, the DFID priority areas in India, and the Chevening Alumni India guidelines.
Pallavi, that's brilliant. I have one question here. That Pallavi, did you connect your leadership essay and a networking essay somewhere? Like example, what you used in leadership essay. Did you connect? Did you continue the same in networking essay, or you took some other examples in networking essay?
So in my case, the examples were all different. So I had 6 examples. 3 were for leadership and 3 were for networking. And very interesting question, actually, Dhananjay, because, sometimes because they are such similar fields, leadership and networking, and I also used to get confused as to what befits what. And for that, it is very important to really do a lot of introspection, to go back and back on the dump that we prepared during the Chevening application process. And this, I have to elaborate more to the viewers that the dump that one prepares for the Chevening essay is mind-blowing. I was just clearing out my Google Drive, and it is the amount of information that I have about Chevening is, I could write a book on it, because one has to introspect a lot as to which example befits which situation.
How you pose the third question, like why you want to study in UK? So what was your secret of writing this question? Because of the most difficult question.
Yes. So my approach while writing the UK essay was that why just UK? So
Pallavi?
Yes, am I audible?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
So my approach, I got lucky in one department that there is no masters in gender and development in the US. So the only masters I was left with was UK. So I got lucky there, and that I quoted in my essay as well. So otherwise, other than that, not just Chevening, I focused on other areas also. And one was that certain organizations where I want to collaborate with as when I come back from my Chevening scholarship are headquartered in the UK. The Fawcett Society, the Plan International, the other organizations I want to work with. And I made sure that I wrote in my essays also that because of logistic control of being in UK, I will have better chances of maybe having a teat-to-teat, maybe interning, or maybe taking up projects with these organizations. The second point that I focused was that India and UK share an extremely cordial bilateral relationship. And for me to study in a democracy which takes India as an important party to advocate gender was extremely important. Thirdly, India not certain, because we emerged from the Commonwealth countries, the Indian law system, the Indian culture is very influenced by UK. So for me to study even the policies, the progressive policies of the UK was a little more functional back home. Had I gone to any other first world country where, say Sweden as a matter of fact, India cannot befit Sweden's plan. So it was important for me to go for a country where there is practical knowledge which I can take back to the country. And the fourth and quite critical was that I travel a lot. And if I am in Europe, in the UK, I have an easy access to the various European countries. And for that, I think Host UK, which is again a collaborative force of Chevening scholarship, was a go-go in my application essay, that I will get to travel a lot.
So your experience, I think, helped too much in writing this particular question. So I will move to the last question, and that's make and break in Chevening. Most of the Chevening applicants say this is the most important and make and break question. So how you planned your career goal essay? What was your focus area?
Dhananjay, personally for me, the most important essay in the 4 essays was actually career, not just from the Chevening perspective, but also for my personal growth and as to understand that how do I see myself in the next 10 years. I divided my entire career goal into short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals. So short-term was 1 to 3, medium was 3 to 5, and long-term was 5+. So for my short-term goal, I completely focused on India at 75. So India turned 75 in 2022, and there are 75 policies that India has to take care of. So my entire agenda was that how do I befit India at 75 policies, in which specifically with regard to gender equality. I intertwined it with Chevening Alumni India's perspective on gender equality. They are already, and I was very fortunate that they are already running programs of intervention of gender with private economy, etc. And where my work and their work can collaborate together for a greater good. Similarly, for my other areas, I made sure that I read a lot about the immediate goals of the DFID on contribution to India, be their youth policies or their policies on green revolution, on energy sector, and how we need more representation of women in these sectors, and how then of me being a gender lawyer fits in the plan. For my medium-term goals, the overarching bucket was Sustainable Development Goal number 5, because that is when we are approaching 2030, which is when we have to report to the United Nations under our treaty that we have achieved gender equality. And for that, I focused on how my middle-term goals will be more focused on creating more representation of women in areas which are male-dominated and areas which are actually the power player of economy in India. So just a small intervention. So my focus area throughout my work and even in IDS is going to be gender equality confluence with private economy and international relations and trade. And in my medium-term goals also, I make sure that I focus on these areas. For my long-term goals, it was about the social impact and the Chevening, how Chevening makes sure that it funds certain startups, certain ventures in the long term. Last time Bolivia, somebody from Bolivia, Chevening scholar from Bolivia, had got the Chevening backing for a startup, and I advocated how I want to create an impact accelerator which can cater to the needs of the gender minorities. And while I take forward my goals of short-term and medium-term goals, I would like to shift focus of creating more tangible work arenas for different genders to prosper. And so this is how I divided my career essay, but it was always intertwined between my personal my personal strengths, and how support of DFID, and support of the 160 different nationalities I will interact with will only contribute and escalate and the entire career.
That's amazing, Pallavi, that she explained the Chevening scholarship application in a detailed manner. She explained the first question regarding leadership, then she explained networking and why she wants to study in UK. And last question, she explained in detail, short term, medium term, and long term, how one should approach these particular question by just categorizing in different parts. So with this, we'll move to the next question, Pallavi, that why you chose University of Sussex for your master degree?
So I applied to 3 schools in the UK, LSE, SOAS, and IDS. And I was very fortunate to get admits by all of them. Why Sussex was the #1 choice for me was it is world's #1 university for gender and development, though not very... I do not sanction ranking a lot, but it's never too bad to be studying in a college which is world's #1. It always adds up to your own, not ego, but your own morale at the end of the day. But other than that, I think research cell of a university was of crucial importance for me, because I plan to also read my PhD. And as I mentioned, that my work area is a lot about policy intervention and academic research. And certain projects, certain researches that IDS runs were in tandem with my goal, specifically related to diversity and inclusion at workplace, private economy, all these areas. My second was diversity. IDS has even in last year, has highest number of Chevening scholars from across the different countries. And that was a very important qualification for me, to be able to know, learn, and brainstorm with Chevening scholars from across the world was extremely important. The third was the faculty. One of the most premium faculties, be it visiting faculty or permanent faculty, faculty in IDS are called fellows, comes to IDS to not just impart lectures, but also to sponsor dissertations. So that was a takeaway. And personally, I think I am not very amused by big buildings and a lot of brick and mortar. I am a person who enjoys nature a lot. I like long treks of greenery around me, and Brighton just suited my purpose. It's a beautiful campus which is just 10 minutes away from beach, and beach is a big thing in England, and which has a UNESCO World Heritage Site forest at its backyard. So I think I wouldn't be missing on these chances.
Rightly said, Pallavi. I was there in Brighton, and it is an amazing place, amazing beach, and very peaceful. So I'm sure when you go there, you will enjoy a lot. So with this, Pallavi, I would request you to, can you give some final tips to the applicants, like those who want to apply? Any final tips to them?
Yes, please. I think the first tip would be, do not undermine the process. As Dhananjay very rightly said, it is not an easy scholarship, and also because it is not just an academic scholarship. Chevening is looking for global change makers. So that means every part of our personality needs to come on paper. So therefore, do not undermine the process, and please start early. This time, the Chevening scholarship opens on 5th of October. So we have, on the 5th of, I think we just have September, we have just 2 months for the scholarship. In my area, there were 3 months, but now the scholars will have just 2 months. So please start early. Do not wait for the scholarship to open. Be research. This is completely a scholarship where too much information is available, and therefore reading is required. This should be the #1 thing that 2022 scholars need to have for this entire 1 year. Third is, please reach out. I think as Indians, one of the handicaps that we have is that we do not reach out. And somewhere I think it is very important for us to understand that we somewhere lack in networking. So reach out. It's a wonderful community. Personally, for me, I had sent my Chevening essays to people, not just Indians. I had sent to, and I really want to mention her name, 𝒂𝒑 Mansab from Pakistan. She was also, and I've never met her. I just connected with her because I was interested in Chevening, in the scholarship, and FICA helped me with my essays really, really proactively. And there were Chevening scholars from India. There's Brahmi Chakrabarti who is a 2017-18 scholar, I think, who went out of her way to help me, to advise me to critique my essays. So definitely reach out. And the fourth and the most important is keep your sanity alive. Nobody is going to make sugarcoat things that it is easy, ho jayega. Things are not going to work out like that. But keep your sanity alive and make sure that you are really keeping your morals up. And please do not forget the deadlines, because every time on the last date, the Chevening, the entire network is jammed because this deadline is from across the globe. So make sure your essays are prepared by the end of September at least, so that in October, you're only pruning your essays, and just have a lot of fun. You will not regret putting in so much hard work for 1 year, because the next 1 year is only going to be celebration and a lot of goodwill.
Amazing. So the crux is first plan and prepare, and then please reach to the Chevening scholars. You can ask your doubts, you can send your Chevening essays to them, and definitely they are going to give their valuable feedback to them. And more importantly, please open to their ideas, because I have seen many people they just don't want to listen what other person is saying. So please listen to the people and accommodate those views. Second, I want to inform all the viewers that this year the application starts from the 5th September, and it will be only open for 2 months. Every year on 5th November, I get so many emails like this year that what will happen, I was not able to submit. So I will request, please submit your application form at least 4 or 5 days before, so that you don't fall into these kind of trouble. So please start early, and please submit your Chevening application essays before the deadline, at least a week. So with this, I want to thank Pallavi for coming onto this platform, sharing her valuable experience, sharing how to approach different essays, and why one should choose University of Sussex. So thank you so much, Pallavi, for taking out your precious time and explaining this application process in detailed manner.
Thank you so much, Dhananjay, for the opportunity. And as Dhananjay mentioned, Dhananjay has taken forward the community of Chevening Trailblazer forward by helping anybody who is interested in the scholarship. You can search me on LinkedIn, and maybe if anybody who's applying for the scholarship or even remotely interested in the scholarship, we can definitely connect over it and talk about it further.
Definitely. And I have one more request from everyone. Please subscribe my channel so that you don't miss the important information regarding various scholarship, because we are not only talking about Chevening, but we are talking about all kinds of scholarship in various universities from UK to US to Australia. So please subscribe so that you get the information at the right time. Thank you so much. Thank you, Pallavi. Thank you, viewers, and have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.